Welcome to True Crime Boss. I'm Jarrett Ferrantino, and we are back in low country. We're casual tonight. I'm rocking the shacket. Significant developments in South Carolina in the case of the People versus Alex Murdaugh. We did a special on the post-trial motion that Jim Griffin and Dick Harpootlian filed on Alex Murdaugh's behalf. Essentially, Harpootlian and Griffin claim that Becky Hill, the jury clerk, impacted the outcome of this trial by making statements to jurors that were deciding the case prior to Alex Murdaugh's testifying not to believe him or to watch for his body language. That, folks, has prompted the significant post-trial motions that are pending before the court. And as we predicted, the trial judge would not hear these motions. In fact, a retired judge named Judge Toll, an octogenarian, has been brought back, a no-nonsense trial judge with decades of experience, to preside over this significant hearing. And what have we learned? There have been significant developments this week. And in my opinion, folks, Harpootlian and Griffin's motion has been kneecapped by Judge Toll. What's happened here is Harpootlian and Griffin were asking the court to apply a standard. And this standard was whether or not the jury was tampered with, period. If they can establish that Becky Hill made these statements to jurors, then the judge and the court goes no further. The jury was tampered with, and Alex Murdaugh should get a new trial. Simpler standard. Was there jury tampering? What the prosecution and Judge Toll are now applying is a different standard. And folks, this sounds subtle, but it's significant. Was there jury tampering? Question one. Question two. Did that tampering impact the outcome of the trial? Huge question on the tail end of the standard. This decision has seriously impacted the likelihood of success on the defense's motion for a new trial. And you may say to yourself, I know Alex Murdaugh is guilty. The jury convicted him. He was down at the kennels. He lied about that. He lied about killing his wife and son. And ladies and gentlemen, I feel you. I do. But this is bigger than Alex Murdaugh. This is a larger question. Our system is on trial. It's no longer about the merits of this case in particular. What's on trial right now is the integrity of our jury system. I don't necessarily agree with what Judge Toll has decided here. First, I think that's a tougher standard. Second, I also think that she has seriously impacted and hamstrung the defense. She's ruled that she won't consider certain other pieces of evidence against Ms. Hill. Ms. Hill's credibility has come under great question over the past several months. There's allegations that she's plagiarized her book, sold access to the trial. She's now alleged to have had her son, who works in the IT department of the court system, monitoring emails with regard to the investigations related to her role in this case. Those factors all go to Ms. Hill's credibility. And although this more difficult and more stringent standard is going to be applied, Ms. Hill is going to testify at the upcoming 3-day hearing. And folks, if I'm a gambling man, I'm going to predict Ms. Hill is going to get on that stand and say, I never said any of these things to that jury. And Harpootlian and Griffin would have been able to challenge her credibility with the allegations that have come to light lately. It's clear Judge Toll isn't having it. Folks, my opinion in this case is put all the cards on the table. If they're allowed to present all of the evidence with regard to Ms. Hill and all of the information with regard to whether or not a juror was told not to believe Alex Murdaugh, or whether or not, folks, there's another allegation coming out. Those of you familiar with the case know about the egg lady, the juror that brought eggs to the other jurors. She was removed from the jury panel the day deliberations were supposed to begin. And why? Because Becky Hill found Facebook posts that would suggest she was discussing the case outside of the auspices of the court and prior to the decision. It's now being alleged that Ms. Hill may have been part of some kind of a fabrication with regard to that Facebook post. Folks, this goes beyond tampering. Now we're talking about changing the entire complexion of the jury. We cannot have this in the system of our courts. We can't have this in these high-profile homicides. We can't have it in the smallest of cases. This is something that, beyond impacting Alex Murdaugh, may impact all of us. How would you feel if you were on trial and accused of a crime you didn't commit? And if the woman that's in charge of essentially walking the jury in and out of the room and making sure they show up on time and leave safely at the end of the day is telling them what to think? You see, in addition to what's going on here with Ms. Hill, people don't realize when you serve on a jury, Ms. Hill, although her role is very limited, is imbued as a government actor. She's assumed to have some knowledge maybe that the jurors don't have. And when she tells them to not believe somebody or something they're saying, that has high weight. And when jurors come into that courtroom, they're now going to be asked, jurors are going to be asked about their assessment of what Ms. Hill said and whether or not it impacted their decision. Now, this is going to be a partially public hearing and a partially closed hearing. Why? Because we want to protect the sanctity of the jury deliberation process. I say, if you want to protect the sanctity of the jury deliberation process, apply the more difficult standard. Don't stand for people like Ms. Hill. This shouldn't even be a question. I think about the prosecutors in this case who busted their asses for so long to bring this case to trial and were successful in getting a conviction. And now they're dealing with something completely out of left field. A person who's supposed to be a potted plant, a disinterested party in this case, has now the entire case hangs in the balance. It's unbelievable. It's embarrassing. It's frustrating. And it's wrong. And we shouldn't stand for it. In a case of this magnitude, or any case. But you know something, folks? Our system is bigger than Alex Murdaugh. And I know you may feel that he's guilty. But the reality is we cannot have these kinds of shenanigans going on with our jury system. And that's why this is very important. And we said we were going to continue to monitor this. I've had cases where jurors were alleged to have had conversations. Jurors were alleged to have been exposed to a certain aspect or something outside in the hallway. They're all brought back in, outside of the public view, and they're asked the question, did you see something? Is it going to impact your ability to be fair and impartial in the case? That's before they make the decision. Now, Alex Murdaugh was convicted and is serving life in prison, and the entire jury could have been corrupted by the actions of Becky Hill. We're going to continue to watch this. We'll be watching this hearing, and we're going to continue to cover this on True Crime Boss. Thank you. How's that?